Hello and welcome, Dr. Stephen Mulholland, to our Boomerang Tip of the Week. These are tips that I've learned after 2.5 decades of running a successful private forecast business that are designed to help you do better at your business. The tip this week is on deciding what retail value proposition, more specifically, superior retail value proposition you want to be. You've got a location, a place, you've got to decide on a price, and that's often going to be tied back to what kind of SRVP, superior retail value proposition, you select. And there's really 4 basic retail medical models and retail models you can select from. You've got your big box store, like your Costco or Best Buy. You could be a discounter, like a Walmart or a Ross. Concierge provider, a luxury brand provider, like a Neiman Marcus or a Ritz-Carlton. Or a hybrid type of business that tries to combine elements of luxury and price with service. And that'll be kind of like a Macy's. You have to really decide on what superior retail value proposition, or SRVP, you want to be to the consumer. You've already decided what you are, you've decided who you want to serve, and how you're going to meet those elements. And that'll tie into your mission and vision statement. But let's spend a little bit of time on what retail value proposition appeals to you. Now, in the private cash space of medicine, aesthetics, particularly, or dental or ophthalmic, like vision correction, or podiatric, or bariatric, you're going to see different providers that will fulfill these retail value propositions. The first is the big box store. Big box stores exist in the aesthetic space. They tend to be large practices, often dermatologic, and they offer everything. So the consumer might not know exactly what they need, but they know, I'm going to go to this big box store, they'll probably have it. It does mean that that kind of provider needs to have a lot of energy-based devices. They need a large footprint and a retail office space, which means a high lease and rent costs. They're going to need a lot of staff to serve all these devices and procedures and services that they offer. And they typically have good pricing, good to high pricing. They can't really be discounters because they've got a large overhead. So they have good pricing. Typically, they'll have average to good margins, but they rely on high patient flow and a high throughput, which demands an attention to detail, which often compromises their luxury brand or service-oriented commitment. So high throughput, average service, good pricing, but they've got everything. They can exist on just okay service because the clients they attract go there because they know they've got everything. Typically flexible hours, the costs in goods and services and the average selling prices need to be very well managed in this kind of store because the overhead is so high. The big advantage, a market moving position for big box RSVPs, they got it all, and the customer goes there because they want a place which is a one-stop aesthetic shop. The consumers don't have an understanding of exactly what they need. They know their problem, and they're going to go to the big box medical provider because they have it all. The second model that you see, unfortunately, in aesthetic medicine are what I would call the discounter. Most of these discounters are discounting because they're not busy, and they think they're not busy because they're too expensive. What they don't really realize is that they're not busy, not because of the price, not because they're a little more expensive or too expensive, but because they don't fulfill other service needs of the customer. Typically, these medical practices are circling the drain from economic insolvency. If you are not busy, it's rarely the price. Go back and fix some of the throughput or service experiences in your business. But typically, if it's going to be a successful discounter, it's owned by a business person, not a doctor, because we don't have those kind of business skills. And they consciously go out and capture a market segment on price. That means they're smart enough and large enough to beat up vendors for the lowest possible cost to maintain their margins. They typically understand throughput, and that's not in our doctor skill set. Typically, as doctors, we want to have patients that appreciate our services and our service commitment, and that concierge environment is what attracts us to aesthetic medicine. In this model, typically, the customer doesn't care so much about the experience, they care about the price. They're loyal to one thing, and that's the price only. So if someone were to lower their price let's say $1 a unit for Botox, or just a few dollars for a filler or a photofacial or hair removal. They might have been with you, discounter A, for years. Boom, they're gone because they're not loyal to you but to the price. So it's a risky business proposition. I don't recommend it. Typically only served well by business people in our segment, and it's not a fun place to be. You're leaving managed care to enjoy service and commitment. Discounting is it's no future in discounting for most physician practices. Most physician practices aim to be a concierge business, a luxury brand that consumers want because you're the best. Now, the problem is most physicians that get a bit nervous about being the best and charging the most. Typically, if you're gonna charge a fair to mid or high market price, you have to have service commitment and great outcomes. If you've got great outcomes and you commit to the service experience and your throughput, from awareness to phone call, contact, the first visit, the online experiences, the in-office experiences, the treatment, the follow-up, and you analyze each of those segments as your concierge luxury service brand, this is going to be probably the model that will serve your business the best. Your margins are going to be higher because you're typically going to charge more. You may consolidate your menu and focus on the top 7 or 8 things you enjoy doing the best, so you can focus on service commitment. You're going to be less cost of goods and services conscious because you've got a larger margin. But if you're busy or busy enough, you certainly want to keep an eye on the bottom line as well. This can be a very successful model for physicians. The problem is most of us providers, dentists, doctors, podiatric physicians, chiropractors, we tend to feel guilty about asking for money. This is a private decision on the part of the patient, and they don't mind parting with their money for an aesthetic service. They might tap you out in a figure 4 on the ground and wrestle you to the mat over a copay, but they'll give you money for private services. As a result, I find that a lot of practices tend towards what I call a hybrid model, where they want to be partially concierge and luxury, but they don't want to charge too much, so they kind of back off the price a bit, and they provide pretty good service, pretty good to great outcome, but modest pricing. Their margins are skinnier. They got to be aware of cost of goods and services. And so it's kind of a half concierge approach, kind of being, again, trying to be everything to everybody. Affordable, but concierge, affordable and luxury service typically doesn't go together. A luxury service environment, you got to spend more for the best staff. You got to appoint the best decor and have a design and a brand that matches that. And so a hybrid model is where most of us end up. We usually aspire to be a luxury brand. We back off. We're a kind of a half luxury brand with reasonably affordable prices and a good service commitment and a good outcome. And that's okay. Aspire to be what you want to be and make sure you deliver on that proposition to the consumer. So when we look at those 4 propositions, pick one and live it and breathe it. Let it permeate through your business plan. Let it fulfill your mission and vision statement to your staff and to the consumer. And once you are on track with one of those retail value propositions, the rest of your plan will flow much, much easier. So, again, I hope you enjoyed our Boomerang Tip of the Week. If you found this engaging and helpful for your business, please check us out on boomerangfx.com. See you next time.